Hey everyone, Romeo here, a fellow Spanish language learner. In this video, I want to talk about the privilege of learning Spanish. In my video, How to Learn Spanish and Speak It in Less Than a Year, I said something that surprises people. I said the first step to learning Spanish was to have the right motivation. Not grammar, not vocabulary, motivation. And this video is really the uncomfortable follow-up to that idea. Because motivation doesn't just magically appear. It comes from pressure, and pressure usually comes from consequences. So when I say the privileged problem of learning Spanish, I'm not talking about politics. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm talking about something very real that I see all the time, even here in the United States. I regularly run into people who speak Spanish fluently, like native level Spanish, and they're economically stuck because they can't speak English. Not because they're dumb, not because they're lazy, not because they don't work hard, but because English is the language of commerce. Without English, certain doors just stay closed. Better jobs, promotion, mobility, sometimes even basic workplace communication. For them, learning English isn't optional. It's pressure. It's survival. And that kind of pressure creates urgency. Now, let's contrast that with most English speakers who decide to learn Spanish. They don't need Spanish to function. They can work in English. They can travel in English. They can turn on subtitles. They can pull out a translator app whenever they want. So when progress is slow, nothing really happens. No job is lost. No opportunity disappears. No income is threatened. That's the difference. That difference, necessity versus optionality, explains almost everything about why so many English speakers struggle to actually learn Spanish. When the language is optional, people treat it like a hobby, even if they say they want results. They download an app, they watch a few videos, they expose themselves to the language, but they rarely finish anything. They sample instead of complete. They recognize instead of produce. And they feel familiar with Spanish without being able to use Spanish. And because nothing bad happens when they stop, drifting feels harmless. That's how someone can spend years learning Spanish and still freeze when ordering food or introducing themselves. Not because they didn't try, but because nothing ever forced them to finish a process. This is also why apps and passive tools feel so appealing. They're comfortable, they're low pressure, they remove friction. They remove failure. And again, that's not by accident. That is the product. Apps are great at keeping you engaged. They're not great at forcing output, recall, or discomfort. For someone who needs a language, like someone learning English, apps usually aren't enough. They supplement urgency. They don't replace it. But for English speakers learning Spanish, apps often become the entire plan. And when that plan doesn't work, the instinct isn't to fix the process, it's to switch tools. Now, don't get me wrong. Most English speakers don't lack discipline. They lack stakes. And without stakes, motivation is fragile. It fades when life gets busy. It fades when progress slows. It fades when the novelty wears off. I know because I lived that version of it myself. That's not a character flaw. That's human psychology. People respond to deadlines, constraints, and consequences, not vague future benefits like someday I'll be fluent. Now, before I go any further, I want to be really clear about something. I'm not perfect, and I'm not speaking from theory here. When I talk about this, I'm talking about myself too. I first started learning Spanish when I was in my early 30s. I did it for about a year, pretty seriously actually. And then life got in the way. Work, priorities, distractions. I stopped, I drifted, I gave up. And nothing bad happened. And more than 10 years went by. It wasn't until almost 3 years ago that I finally decided I was going to finish what I started. No matter how long it took and no matter how imperfect it looked along the way. I decided that I no longer wanted to take my privilege for granted. So I've been showing up every day for almost the past 3 years, getting better and better, working towards reaching the level of fluency that I desire. Now, if Spanish is just a casual interest for you, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're spending time every week buying resources, watching videos like this, telling yourself you're learning Spanish, then results matter. Not perfection, not sounding native, just functional, usable Spanish. Being able to speak when you want to speak, understand when someone responds, and handling situations without freezing. And if that's the goal, then how you learn matters more than what you use. That's exactly why I built 1 Year to Fluency. Not for people who need Spanish to survive. Those people usually find a way. I built it for people like me the first time around. English speakers that had access but no pressure. Motivation that fades when life gets in the way. The goal wasn't to make learning fun, it was to make learning finishable. No constant decisions, no method hopping, no guessing what to do next. Just a process that replaces motivation with execution. Because once I finally committed to finishing, not dabbling, everything changed. And this is the real privilege, being able to delay forever. You don't need Spanish to survive. And that's a gift. But it's also the reason so many people never get where they want to go with it. So if you choose to learn Spanish, do it honestly. Either keep it casual and enjoy it as a hobby, or commit to a process you're willing to finish no matter how long it takes. Just don't confuse motion with progress. Now, before you go, I'm curious. Have you ever quit learning Spanish and then came back to it later? If you did, what actually changed the second time around? I'd genuinely like to hear your story, so please put it in the comment section. Until the next video, good luck on your journey to building more functional, usable Spanish. Peace.